Welcome to my channel where we discuss various topics related to Quebec and Canadian real estate. As always, my name is Joseph Nour. I'm a licensed real estate broker here in the province of Quebec. And in today's episode, I'm going to be talking to you about steps to effectively sell your home, whether that's a house or a single family home or a condo. There's actually five phase or stages that I refer to. And because there's a lot of information I want to cover, I'm probably going to break this down into 5 separate videos. The first one being, I'm going to give a quick overview, and then I'm going to jump right into the first step. Before we begin in today's topic, as always, if you are looking to sell or buy any piece of real estate in the city of Laval, which I operate, feel free to contact me, or if you have any general question, don't hesitate. You can message me on my YouTube channel or send me an email. So without further ado, let's get started. There's a lot of information that I want to cover. So I'm looking at my board for all my notes. If you see my head moving, know that I want to make sure I don't skip any vital information I want to give you. So first off, just an overview of the 5-step or 5 phases. So phase 1, I'll refer to it as the planning phase. And these are kind of naming that I follow. So, you may be speaking to somebody else. They have a different naming convention or different steps, but this is typically what I follow. So phase 1, that's the planning phase. So basically we do our planning before any type of execution happens, which is what we're going to talk about today. Then you have phase 2, which is what I refer to as the go-to-market readiness. Basically, that's all the activities that we're going to do to help us get our property on the market. Then we have the market launch. So that's when your property is actually on the market for sale. So there's a lot of activities that we have to do. Sometimes, if you've sold a property in the past, and with a broker, you may not see everything that they're doing, but there are a lot of vital steps that we need to do. So that was step 3. Step 4 is managing offers and condition. And then the last one is closing the sale, which we talked about when I walked you through my step to successfully purchase a home. So without further ado, let's get started in phase 1, which is the planning phase. So there's 4 things that I want to touch on. So let's start with number 1, which is what you should be doing before you take any kind of action is defining your goal. So obviously you want to know why you're selling here. What is your objective? What is the desired outcome? So that you can properly plan what steps and what action you need to take. So if you don't know what your desired objective is, you may miss a step, or you might do the wrong step that may cost you money. So really important, before you do anything, sit down with your spouse or your husband, whoever, your partner, whoever you're looking to sell with, and defining your objective. Whether that's you're looking to upgrade, are you looking to downgrade, are you looking to relocate from one city to another, are you looking to move from one type of property to another? Example, are you in a condo, you're going in a house, or vice versa? So it's very important that you kind of define what these objectives are. What are your timeline, right? Because that may impact when you're going to take all these steps. So I'm not going to bewilder the point here, but it's very important to define what your goals are and what your objective that you're trying to achieve with selling your property. So what is the driving factor here? Okay. So that was the first element that I want you to consider. The second one is about whether or not you should sell on your own or hire a broker. Now, I'm a bit biased. I'm a broker. I'm not going to try to convince you to deal with a broker in this video. I don't think that's really going to be valuable to you. Instead, what I want to do is give you some question to ponder on, to ask yourself, to help you in your decision making. Right? So these are things that you should consider in your thinking to help you make a decision on whether you want to hire a real estate broker or you want to do the sale on your own. So there's actually 7 items here I want you to think about. So number 1 is assess your level of knowledge and experience. So Obviously, there's a lot of things that go on in a real estate transaction. So you have to, think about what is your level of knowledge and experience in buying and selling real estate. And also in terms of about the mechanic of, a property, right? You have to be able to answer some questions. What kind of heating system do you have? What kind of roof do you have? Is it shingle? Is it elastomer? Is it, there's different questions that we get asked by a potential buyer that you need to be able to answer, right? And there's a lot of legal documents you need to fill up, and you need to understand those legal documents, right? So, in your thinking, assess what is your current level of knowledge in terms of, real estate overall and buying and selling property. Number 2 is assess the time availability that you have. So you may have a full-time job. I don't know what your job is, but understand that prospective buyers or brokers that are working with buyers are going to contact you at different time of the day. So if you have a corporate 9-to-5 job, understand that they're going to call you during the day, morning, lunchtime, in the afternoon, in the evenings. Sometimes I get calls at 10 p.m. And I get sometimes 7, 8 a.m. as well. And that's 7 days a week. So you got to assess your availability. And often we have to be able to answer these potential prospective buyer fairly quickly, or else, they're going to move on and look at another property. So you got to think about that in your decision making on whether you're going to sell yourself or hire a broker. Number 3 is assess, and this is an important one and often overlooked. Assess your level of accessibility to market data. So like any transaction or any decision making that you're trying to do, data is king. So the more information you have, obviously valuable information, the better you can make a decision. And we're talking about here the sale of a real estate property, which is most likely the most expensive asset that you have. And so any decision you want to make on that asset, you should be able to have relevant data that you can rely on. And that data could be anything from, what was sold in the area, how long did it take to sell, is it a seller's market, is it a buyer's market, what is selling, what is not, all these kind of information. You need to assess whether you have that data or you have accessibility to that data to help you in that transaction. So that was number 3. Number 4 is assess, and I'm just reading here just to make sure I'm not missing, assess your ability to communicate and negotiate. So, I don't know what you do for a living, but there's various ways to communicate with potential buyer. I'll give you an example. So, obviously I work with a bunch of client. And sometimes we go visit properties that are sold, that are being sold by owners, right? And they have ways of conducting themselves that turn off buyers. And I can't tell you how many times, and I'm not telling you this to try to convince you to work with a broker, but I can't tell you how many times I've gotten feedback from my buyers where they found the seller was a bit too pushy, or they were following them around during the entire visit. They weren't able to properly assess the property and that kind of stuff. So you gotta, and you're think about that. You're emotionally involved in the transaction, so you want to make sure you choose your word carefully. And you need to be able to know how to negotiate, right? It's a high-stake negotiation. So again, this is something you want to think about. So assess your ability to effectively communicate with others, especially when you're emotionally involved in the transaction, and your ability and experience to negotiate. So that was number 4. Number 5 on the things to ask yourself to properly make a decision whether you want to buy or sell, in this case, sell on your own, is the buyers, as the example I was just giving. Even if you sell on your own, understand that most buyers are probably working with a real estate broker. And so going back to what I said in number 1, assess your level of knowledge and experience, if your level of knowledge and experience is not very high or is moderate, and the buyer are working with a broker that does this day in, day out, you may be at a disadvantage. That broker is going to have more experience, more knowledge. They're going to have access to data that you don't have. And so you may be but you are going to be at a disadvantage in terms of negotiation. So again, something to think about. Number 6, assess risk and benefit. Again, there's a lot of money at stake. Okay. And you can, I think you can easily find on Google a bunch of, lawsuit for mistakes that are being done, right? So understand that when you're selling on your own, there is no insurance. You are liable for what you say and do, right? So the buyers could sue you for XYZ reason for any mistakes that you would have done. Contrary to when you're working with a broker, and I'll specifically speak about here in my province where I operate, we have insurance that we have to pay. So if we make a mistake, whether it's the buyer or the seller, our association, we have insurance that can cover potential mistake that we've done. And so you as the seller are protected. And the same thing on the buyer's side when we represent. So you got to assess the level of risk and benefit. Typically, the number one reason, and probably the only reason people try to sell on their own, is to save the commission. So everything I'm mentioning is to, again, to question that you need to ask yourself beyond just, do I want to pay the commission or not? So again, assess the risk and the reward. I've seen lawsuit of 80,000, of 190,000. This is way more than any commission that are being paid on a real estate property. And also the last one, but often not thought about, is when buyers see a property being sold by the seller, so without a broker, usually they're expecting a discount. This is no different than when you put up your car. If you're buying a car from somebody that's putting it on Facebook Marketplace versus a dealer, people understand that same car that's being sold by its owner on Facebook or Kijiji, they're expecting a discount because there's more risk involved in that transaction, and therefore they're expecting a discount versus people that go buy from a dealership. They understand that dealership has rules that they need to follow. They have regulation, right? They can go back to that dealership and ask for any kind of compensation for any issue. When you're dealing directly with the buyers, because they understand that there's way more risk, and if there's issue, they have less, action that they can take. They expect a discount. So that's something often that we don't think about. So I don't want to bewilder the point here, but again, these are all questions that you should ask yourself to determine whether or not you want to sell on your own or you want to hire a broker. So enough on that topic. Third step in our first planning phase is determining the cost of selling. So there's various costs that you will incur as a seller. So if you decide to hire a broker, there's going to be brokering fee. You may be breaking a mortgage, so you got to think about that. And that could be extremely expensive. So you got to really contact your bank and understand what kind of fee you're looking at. There are obviously moving fees. If you have a condo, there's going to be a syndicate fee. You want to inform yourself on that. There's going to be mortgage discharge when you go to the notary here in Quebec. And there may be, you have to do your certificate of location if it's older than 10 years, or there's stuff that has changed since the last one was created. It's going to be a cost. So just sit down and, just like when we talked about in the video series on how to effectively purchase your next home, one of the first steps was knowing your cost. So it's always important to understand all the costs that you're going to incur before you get into any kind of activities. Last but not least, I often get asked the question, if I'm selling my property and I'm looking to buy another one, should I buy before I sell? Honestly, there's no right or wrong answer. It really depends on your situation. So if you're hiring a broker, they'll spend time understanding your current situation and recommend a few options. And based on the recommendation, you decide kind of what option you're more comfortable. But for the sake of this video, I'll kind of give you three things or variables that are going to help your decision making, okay, on whether you should buy before you sell. So number one is, what market condition are you operating in? And there's two components that you got to look at. You got to look at the market condition of the location and type of property that you are selling. And you got to look at the market condition of the type of property and location that you're looking to buy into, because it may differ. Some area in my cities is a buyer's market, and some other area and some other type of property, it's a seller's market. So you got to understand the market condition. That's one variable. Secondly is your financial capacity, right? Can you pay 2 mortgages for X amount of period of time, right? With all the other costs that's involved, right? So that's a variable to consider. What is your financial situation? And lastly is your tolerance to risk, right? So, some people, if they have to move out of a property by X date and they don't know where they're moving to, is very stressful. They're not going to be able to sleep. It might impact their day job and, their family situation. It might have strain on their family. And so your level of tolerance to stress is a variable that you need to factor in the equation. So that's why, again, typically what I'll do is when I get asked that question from a client, we'll sit down, look at their situation, and we'll assess a few option, and I let them choose, and I kind of show the pros and cons of each option. Okay. So that's it for phase 1, which was the planning phase. In the next video, I'll talk about phase 2, which is the go-to-market. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, as always, if you're looking to buy or sell any real estate property in the city of Laval, don't hesitate to contact me, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.